So just to make sure I got the terminology correct, COVID-19 is the name of the disease, the infection, and the name of the virus is SARS-CoV-2, and it belongs to the coronavirus family. Could you give a bit of a review of the coronavirus family as a whole?
Sure. Sure. So most of the coronaviruses that we, that we interact with actually just cause the common cold. So we have multiple different viruses that can cause the common cold. A significant portion of common colds are actually caused by rhinovirus, which is from a totally different family. But within the coronavirus family of viruses, and they get that name because of the spike protein on their outer surface, which looks kind of like a crown around the virus. So you have these, you have part of the coronavirus family, and the part that we're most used to interacting with causes the common cold, and it does that seasonally. And we have frequent encounters with it. There are two previous events where a coronavirus, just like SARS-CoV-2 has now done, has crossed over from an animal reservoir into humans and gotten the ability to transfer from human to human. And at that point, they become very dangerous. So the two other times that this has happened with these non-cold causing coronaviruses one is with MERS, and that's MERS. And that actually that kind of jumps from camels to humans. And then it can transfer between humans. Luckily, transfer from human to human is not very infectious. So you don't end up infecting a lot of other people when you're infected, and that's very lucky because MERS is very serious. And also it's even more resistant. So it's, for MERS, we do know that it can have fecal-oral transmission, which signifies that it's a pretty hardy virus. So with SARS, the first SARS that happened was a similar event like this from a bat crossover. And what happened there is that there was a small outbreak. It was very infectious, but it got controlled long before this point that we are at now with this SARS. And I think that a lot of the countries that were involved in that first SARS outbreak learned a lot and enacted a lot of measures into their healthcare systems to be prepared for something like that coming back. And I think the US is seeing how unprepared we were. And some other countries as well, like Italy, it's really showing kind of how prepared different healthcare systems were for handling a crossover event like this, which with a lot of infectivity, human to human.
So I think that you're highlighting the tragedy in the lack of preparedness. And you talked about MERS. This was, I think, 2012 was the first incidence of MERS, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so MERS has crossed over multiple times, and people can get it from different interactions with camels. And it's, so it continues, there continue to be crossover events, but they're usually very small and kind of contained to local clusters.
And SARS was 2002 to 2003, if I recall correctly. So for SARS-CoV-2, do you have any hypothesis on what's the event or series of events that led to its transmission to humans? And how is it different than the common cold that these viruses usually cause?
Yeah, so those are great questions. What we think is, so most of SARS-CoV-2 looks a tremendous amount like a strain of coronavirus that was circulating in bats. And there's actually been papers on this in 2015 and 2016 that had surveyed the bat population and identified that there were circulating strains that were very, very close to acquiring human-to-human transmission, much like what had happened with SARS. And what it seems to have happened is that there was a recombination event actually between one of those circulating bat viruses and a coronavirus that's normally found in the pangolin, which I never heard about before this, but a very unfortunate recombination event there happened, which gave this virus the right spike protein so that it could actually interact with our own ACE2 receptor. And the cells in our body that express ACE2 seem to be informing us a lot about the pathology that this virus is then causing and the symptoms that people are getting.